What's up, everybody, and welcome back to What the Fun. And today we are reviewing Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power, Episode 1 and Episode 2. My name's Mike, and with me are my co-hosts, Joe and Joe.
Yeah, callback. This is Joe 2.0, the duck himself here. Don't have any rings to come in late in this one. So the duck is here right out the bat because those rings haven't been created yet. Spoilers. I am excited here. The Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings, more content. Give it to me in my soul. Loving it so far. Joe, the real Joe, how are you doing?
Well, the real Joe, please stand up or stay seated or talk.
I'm gonna stay seated, and I'll just talk because I think that'll work better. But I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about Rings of Power. I know there's been some turmoil in the community over this thing, but I want to give it an unbiased view.
Yes, there has been turmoil, dumb turmoil, in my opinion. We could maybe touch on that a little bit, but this is What the Fun. We are a podcast network where we do a video game debate show as well as reviews of awesome stuff that we love. And we have been doing Lord of the Rings content for the past month or so, and actually 2 months or so, and we're continuing. We're so excited to review Rings of Power. So stay tuned. We will be reviewing every single episode. And also, spoiler alert, we're going to be doing a new ranking system for the middle of a season, so I'll let you know about it all at the end. But like I said, this is the What the Fun Network, so follow us at Twitter at What the Fun Pod, also on Facebook. We're trying to boost up our followers, so just go ahead and give us a follow there. If you just Google What the Fun Pod, that will pop up as well. Our Twitter should be like the first or second link there. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and like this episode and comment down below what you thought of the first 2 episodes of The Rings of Power. And if it's not too late, we are running a giveaway for the 4K digital set of the original trilogy on our Return of the King video. So go and take a look at that video and see how to enter. If you're listening to us on a podcatcher of choice, please consider leaving us a review, especially on Apple iTunes. It truly helps us out, get into the algorithms and stuff. And plus, we would just want to know how we're doing. So let us know by a star review, and then also leave some comments on your review as well. We would greatly appreciate it. Hey, let's get into it. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. You guys, I was extremely excited going into this show, especially after our review of the original trilogy. Just that review of the original trilogy truly reminded me just of how much I love this lore, how much I love this setting, and how much I love those original films. And to get more Lord of the Rings content, I'm just all for. And so, Joe, Rings of Power, what was your excitement level going into this show before we do our spoiler-free review?
Sales pitch. If you love Lord of the Rings like I do, get yourself a hold of a Silmarillion and enjoy that encyclopedia of Lord of the Rings lore. What did I expect, or what were my expectations? I think, unfortunately, they were a bit like I was worried, only because the most recent Lord of the Rings that we got was The Hobbit, and as we all know, especially if we've seen and listened to the reviews, I was not a huge fan of those films. I'm hopeful in the sense that with a episodic series, they'll be able to do justice to, the lore that they're diving into. This also, however, is the first one that doesn't have written source material to start off. They have the Silmarillion, which is a guide to the creation of Middle Earth and everything, where the beings come from and how it came to existence and all that. And that's a bit of what they're pulling from, but they have no actual source material. So
yeah,
I am hopeful, yet also I think a bit nervous.
Okay, so that's fair. I think that's very fair, especially since, as you said, they don't have an actual source material to go on. Now, I will counteract that and counterpoint that with they had the original source for The Hobbit, and I think they screwed it up. And so I think that maybe having a little bit more creative freedom within this world could potentially be a good thing. And so, Justin, what was your excitement level going into this series, and then we'll go into spoiler-free review.
Well, after watching MTV Cribs last week, I was ready, sadly, to be a little disappointed. I was worried because I'm going to echo what you said with the original trilogy. That level of film quality is so high. You're putting that bar so high. That's why The Hobbit didn't stand up on its own, really, in my opinion. I feel like it was trying to reach that level with the source material of The Hobbit and extend it for 3 films, and it kind of faltered. So I believe that with this open creativity flow that they have available to them, sure, they have a few little key points here and there and some characters that we know and love before we knew them in the original trilogy. I feel like they have that freedom to blossom this story. And I was worried. And we'll get into it, but I am pleasantly calmed, and I'm ready. I'm ready to be blown away by this unique story in the world that I love and grew up with. So let's get it.
Yeah, and as I said, I was extremely excited going into the show because after rewatching the original trilogy, like, I just am excited for more content within this atmosphere, within this lore, within this story. And so, yeah, let's get into it. We are reviewing episodes 1 and 2, obviously out on Amazon Prime right now. When you are listening to this episode, the 3rd episode will be released, and so we will be reviewing that next week. So, patent pending, Joe, first 2 episodes. Let's get your spoiler-free review.
A spoiler-free review of a show. This is interesting. We've never done this before. So spoiler-free review, it's Lord of the Rings content, and it has no source material. We have no idea what to expect. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't. Why don't you give it a shot if you like Lord of the Rings? Spoiler-free review.
Was that really a review? I don't even know. Yeah, I think that was just a recommendation.
It is, but how do you review a show that nobody else has seen either without spoiling it? I don't watch trailers.
Well, no, I mean, like, review. What is your spoiler-free review of the first 2 episodes?
It's a show about Lord of the Rings. There's characters that you may have heard of
That's
before.
That's a synopsis, not a review. Anyway, I'm going to Justin.
All right. So, spoiler-free review in honor of Jelly's synopsis. This is a show. It's about Lord of the Rings. And it's about characters that we know and love. I think that quality-wise, this is one of the most visual, gratifying shows I've seen in a long time. I think they took their time with the cinematography. I think they took their time with the sets, the set pieces. I feel like they did a great job lining this story up, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I can't wait to get more of this content every week as it rolls out. And I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, like I said, I was a little worried, but visually and story-driven wise, it is keeping me very optimistic into the future.
Yeah, I'm with you, Justin. I think that if you're not watching this on a 4K display, I think you are doing yourself a disservice. I know that sounds potentially a little bit privileged, but I think it's well worth it to get yourself a 4K display and watch this. Because the set pieces, the CGI pieces that they use, the action, it's amazing. Like, I am incredibly excited for the future of this show. I think the story is going to back up, the action and the set pieces and the visuals. And as far as the first two episodes go, I love the characters that they're introducing. I love the characters that they're potentially reintroducing, and we'll talk about those. But I also really enjoy kind of the story beats and the relationships that they're seeing within these first 2 episodes. So I think it's a very good start. And so let's get into it. If you have not seen the first 2 episodes of The Rings of Power, please do yourself a service. pause this podcast, go to Amazon Prime, and watch the first 2 episodes. Consider this your official spoiler warning. Hey, you. What are you doing?
Who, me?
Do you want to be spoiled? No? Well then,
Stop it. Get some help.
so you don't feel like this guy. Instead, let it be a surprise.
Oh, I like surprises.
So go watch the thing before you move on in the podcast, okay?
Alrighty then.
That was your official spoiler warning. Let's get into it, guys. Really quick, I want to mention the cast because I do think that they did a very good job of casting. And so you have Morfydd Clark as Galadriel.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's talk about it. I'm in.
Agree
for it.
with who?
I agree with Mike. It was
Okay.
fairly well casting.
I think they did a good job.
Let's
Morfydd
continue.
Clark as Galadriel, Lenny Henry as Sadok Burrows, Markello Cavanaugh as Nori, Brandyfoot. Marigold Brandyfoot is played by Sarah Zwangobani. Sorry for mispronouncing it. And you have Dylan Smith as Largo Brandyfoot. You have Robert Aramayo as Elrond. You have Ishmael Cruz Cordova as Arondir. I really like his character, so excited about that.
Can you try to pronounce the name of Malva, the Harfoot, for me?
Sure. Thusisa Jayasundara. Sorry about
Great
that
job.
pronunciation.
Great job. She's a
I think
great
I did
actress.
okay.
She did good. All right. Yeah.
Megan Richards is also pretty prominent as Poppy Proudfellow. And then you have Nazanin Boniadi, who I recognize from some other stuff, but she's Bronwyn. She's pretty prevalent in the story. And then we'll get to Daniel Wayman's The Stranger as well. So, all right, let's get into the synopsis of the first episode. After the Dark
Are we
Lord...
going to talk about the character? Do you guys really think Elrond looked good for Elrond? You think that was a good character choice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think so. I don't think it looks anything like Hugo Weaving. So I think the
Well, I
continuity
don't...
was ruined
How
for
are
me
you
a
going
bit.
to get somebody that is going to look exactly like him?
There are 7 billion people on the planet. I'm sure there's at least a few doppelgangers for what he could have looked like
A
as
few
kid.
doppelgangers that have this guy's acting talents as well. Like,
Sure.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know,
You mean
most
having a
of those
British accent?
most of those guys are working.
stop.
You know, in the Matrix, and they're working with other things, so they're busy. All right, let's
Yeah.
continue.
Fair enough. All right.
After the Dark Lord Morgoth. Okay, you then I'm going to hold you to that because you need to say the same thing for the Stranger when we get to talking about it. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, good.
I agree.
Good.
I was going to bring it up. Don't worry.
After the Dark Lord Morgoth, by the way, A Shadow of the Past is the title of the first episode. After the Dark Lord Morgoth was defeated, the elf Finrod died searching for his servant Sauron.
Let's talk about Morgoth for a little bit.
Yeah,
because that's a big character that we haven't heard from. Maybe mentioned twice in the original trilogy, or maybe in the Hobbit.
Yeah.
This is the god. Well, it's a godlike devil or Satan in the Middle Earth. So this is way bigger than Sauron. This is something that is the big baddie. Jelly, I'm gonna pass it to you because you've read all of the back notes on this guy for sure.
Yeah, he is the Satan figure here. If you're not familiar with biblical text, then imagine in Middle Earth creation, there's a god who created everything. Yuve, I think is his name. But anyways, he created the angels, Anwar, and Morgoth was one of these beings. He was jealous. He wanted to be able to have creation of his own. He was cast from the realm. He created his own area. We have Middle Earth. And he was ruler of this area, all powerful, but he was a bit of a baddie. He created the likes of Sauron and orcs and, unsurprisingly enough, all the evil stuff, because that's where his heart was, because he was separated from the creation. he created all the bad things, and he was really good at creating bad things. And this is not Wreck-It Ralph. Bad things are bad, in fact, in this universe. So he created a lot of bad things, but he was the ultimate and first big bad, Morgoth.
Well, and then just to go off of that, like, you see Morgoth, and they had some really cool visuals of like him in the shadows. You don't necessarily see him, but what I do want to talk about is Sauron. Like, seeing him walk down those stairs was a very awesome visual right at the start, where you just get the history, and talking about that too, like, how good does this harken back to, the Fellowship of the Ring, where they're like filling in the lore for you with, Galadriel being the narrator over it? Like, Justin, did you like this powerful intro?
Yeah, it was definitely a callback to what we love, and done correctly. It held a lot of weight in what she was saying. It held a lot of weight in the visuals that were behind it. I feel like it really tied the beginning of this episode and pulled you in. Like I said, and I'm gonna keep echoing it throughout this entire episode, the visuals and the cinematography are on point for this. And that's not even including the musical score, which is ramping it up to 11, just like the original trilogy.
Howard Shore, again. Kudos.
Yeah, phenomenal job. It pulled you into what you know and love, and fans that don't know gets a little rundown. I'm sure they like it.
So Finrod is, again, he's an elf that was searching for Sauron, but he passes away. He dies by the hand of Sauron. Finrod's sister, Galadriel, vowed to continue the search and finds an abandoned fortress in the northern wastelands of Farodwaith, which bears Sauron's mark. So again, like, we are going to probably talk about the set pieces and just the visuals of this show a lot, because they do a really good job, like we've said before. What'd you guys think of like this, this blizzard type scene, and them getting into that fortress that obviously Sauron was at prior? Joe? It
was beautiful, right? It takes us back to some of the Helm's Deep footage, or because it's dark and cavey. I'm kind of going based off the original ones, or the oh gosh, I've forgotten the name of it, but where all the dead kingdom was in the Return of the King. It kind of harkens back to those set pieces as well, where you have these very dark. I mean, it's set in a cavern, and it's essentially in the Arctic Circle. So you have this dark, stormy, snow-covered blizzard setting outside. And then as soon as you get inside, it is the same thing, just with dark, like, dismal, sharp edges. Everything looks, I want to say evil. Everything looks bad. Everything looks dangerous. Everything looks scarier because of the setting. They do a beautiful job. I mean, it honestly feels evil in there, and when you're watching, that comes across.
I'm gonna touch base on cinematography here at the intro of Galadriel. Pretty much, she's climbing a rock ice wall, pretty much a cliff, and this has been done in film many times. We've got Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise climbing on the rocks of sandy desert. We've got AVP, the lead actress, was climbing an ice wall as well. These are things that show how powerful or how BA these characters are before you even get them to open their mouths. So this is something that sets the tone for her character, and it's done very well in this sense, with the camera panning and the emotion between her and her companions. I feel like this is a great way to start visually what we are going to see to come.
Yeah, I really like the start to Galadriel's journey in this show. I think it, shows her prowess for leadership as well as fighting, and I'm just hoping that it continues. I think that they got a good foundation going to start off with. But yeah, her companions insist that they return to the elven capital Linden, where High King Gil-galad proclaims the war against Morgoth's forces to be over. But again, that they also fought a snow troll, in between this as well. Galadriel completely destroyed that snow troll. And then
Galadriel fought a snow troll. No one else did.
Yeah, nobody did. But they do go back to the Elven Kingdom. And honestly, Galadriel was very close to not even going back. I think she still obviously knew that Sauron was still... I don't know if he's on the run at this point. I don't know how you would describe that, but I think he's just evading very good.
Yeah, I think of it as like when Voldemort is formless. Because I put Sauron kind of in that same specter of like, he's not exactly a full-fledged being. We know that he doesn't come back to a full being, at least for a little bit, after he was destroyed and cast out. Morgoth was destroyed and cast out. Sauron was banished. We know that he's not a full-fledged, at least necromancer, wizard, mage, powerful being for a little bit yet. So I kind of, I picture him behind the scenes manipulating and doing all that stuff, kind of like Voldemort does in the first few books before he has a body again.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that as well, without saying the name that's not supposed to be said. Shame on you, Jelly. He who must not be named shares very similar qualities here.
Sauron?
I'm talking about...
we've said his name a lot. What?
Fear of the name only increase fear of the being himself. Come on.
Yeah. Well,
I need to say this.
So...
what? Am I mixing up my lores here?
So... With Sauron, a lot of the gripes now on the intrawebs is that he's not a big role. He's not seen a lot. And I feel like that's gratifying for us. You need to stay calm because I'm sure they will bring him in later. I feel like this is building the power, building that tension, building the drive for a climax. And I think that's a very good technique to use. You don't need to see these big battles every scene. You don't need to see a big fight with Sauron at the end of every episode. That's not how shows work. They have good story and drama. So I feel like if you are one of those people that are saying those things, just relax, take a breather, enjoy what you see, and you'll probably be gratified. It'll be gratifying at the end. So
yeah, go rewatch Jaws while you're breathing and understand that not showing something on film can be more powerful than showing it.
Yeah. We'll need a bigger boat by the end of this movie or the show.
Yes. We're going to need a bigger boat.
It was kind
speaking
of
of boats, speaking of boats, we'll get to that episode too.
Well, episode 2. So anyway, High King Gil-galad, he grants Galadriel and her company the honor of sailing to Valinor, where they can live an eternal life of at peace. So, kind of to set the stage for them going back there was, at the very beginning of the episode, was their journey away from there to Middle Earth to find Sauron and find Morgoth specifically, who Morgoth invaded, Valinor at the start of the episode. Galadriel's going home because she was born there. She's going home, but is she? We'll find out. So in the Southlands of Middle-earth, elves watch over men descended from allies of Morgoth. So some bad juju history there. To the disapproval of the others, the elf Arondir has developed a close relationship with the human healer Bronwyn. So this elf likes this woman.
Yeah,
Justin?
Joe. No, I want to go to Joe on this. The relationship.
Romance.
Take romance to me.
I definitely want to take it to you because there's no ring story plot right now. So this has no drive to get that story fulfilled. I want to hear your take on it.
He doesn't have a Samwise, to
No.
I think it's fitting in this story, unlike the other one. I think it actually makes sense here.
Yeah.
Unlike the other one. That's my take. I mean,
you're okay with it.
They introduce it from the beginning. They give us a reason why it's bad. It's it's star-crossed lovers. We've all seen this one before, right? It's Romeo and Juliet. It's Capulets and Montagues. It's these people, not those people. There's a rift between them, and it's quote unquote bad for them to intermingle.
It's tried and true storytelling.
Yeah. So do I think that they'll drop the ball somewhere on this? Yeah, probably. But for now, they're doing all right.
Yeah. I would have definitely went with West Side Story references, but I agree with Joe. minus the
I'm
fact
not
that
a
they're
West
going to
Side
drop the
Story
ball.
guy.
I'm very optimistic that they're going to fulfill this plot. They introduced it so early that it's going to be something that is a through line. So I feel like they're going to have to do something with it towards the end.
Yeah, and I also like Arondir. Like, I really think that he's going to play a pivotal role in this series, potentially even more than Elrond. I don't know, but I really like that character so far. Yeah, he's just kind of like this like elf that's a little bit brooding, a little bit more serious, but also quite wise for just sort of being a warrior, sort of being a watch elf, that type of thing. So kind of excited for him. And Bronwyn's a cool character too. I think like Joe said, they haven't screwed it up yet with this relationship. So I'll get on board there. But yeah, now what's interesting, since we're on Bronwyn, she has a son. And
Bulkhead.
this son, huh?
Bulkhead. Bronwyn and Bulkhead.
Yeah. Bulkhead is his name? Or
Just has a terrible
I was gonna
Bulkhead.
say that's his name's Theo. I was like, what? So anyway, Bronwyn's son, Theo, finds a broken sword bearing Sauron's mark. So I don't know if it's more so like finds the sword or if he's already been hiding it.
Yeah, it kind of seems like he has a hidden place that he's keeping it. He's very it's kind of like how Pip was with the Palantir, where it's something cool and I want to keep it to myself, and then I'm going to touch it and something bad's going to happen. It's very foreshadowing and foreboding for the future. But I feel like he's had it. We didn't really see him venture off and be like, oh, I'm going to put this in my back pocket and hide it from everyone. He kind of already had it.
Yeah,
so.
we know he knows where it's stashed. We're not sure if he stashed it there or not. And I think that was good. Like I think that kind of gives us the opportunity to introduce someone else more integral to that story and who found that sword. Why was it there? Why was it in this secret hidey hole place?
Well, and then what I don't think I noticed it too clearly, but did his clothes always have the mark of Sauron on it? Like throughout the whole episode?
I'm not sure if I noticed
didn't
that.
notice.
Yeah,
Okay, because what I noticed is after he touched the sword, his clothes had Sauron's mark on it.
Really?
Yeah, so maybe roll back the tape, but I remember seeing on his like shoulders and elsewhere that after he touched the sword, those sorts of markings were on his clothing. So I think Theo is going to be a very, very interesting character going forward because like Arondir, I think Theo is going to play an integral role in like the introduction of Sauron and into the whole story.
So in my mind, when I watched him fondle around with the sword and hide it and things, I got straight Boromir feelings of someone who might turn bad but then have a change of heart towards the end. I feel like this could be something that, yes, I agree, it could be an introduction for Sauron, but also something that he doesn't know that it's evil per se, but he's going to misstep and travel down the wrong path. And
I don't know if I'm going to push back on that. Maybe Joe disagrees or agrees with me, but I think he knows what this sword is, because I think he understands the history of his people and that they were people of Morgoth. So I don't know, Joe, do you agree with that or?
I don't know if initially he does understand what the sword is. I think that from the moment his blood touches it, he should have been aware.
When he saw his blood go up it? Yeah, that's something.
Right.
I think that was a pretty dead giveaway that, hey, this thing might be a little bit more mystical, dangerous, dark
Actually,
than I thought.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves because I think that's an episode 2.
It is.
So
It
let's
is.
So let's finish episode 1 here.
We'll come back to that later.
Yeah, we will. So anyway, Arondir and Bronwyn, they actually travel to Hordern, which is a village nearby, and it has been destroyed. So that's going to throw a wrench into episode 2 as well, so we'll get to that. And so near Valinor, Galadriel chooses to turn back and continue to search for Sauron. So she jumps off the ship. Now, some of those other elf characters that were in her company are pretty interesting, so I don't know if they will end up maybe taking the sail back to Middle-earth. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But Galadriel is clear. My job is not done. She has this gut feeling and an accurate feeling, to give her the fairness there, that Sauron is still around.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of lead into that, right? At least for us, for the viewers, we get to know the backstory behind that right at the end. Elrond's talking to Gil-galad, and they know that Sauron's not gone. They know that Morgoth's evil is still present in the world, and they're afraid that by keeping Galadriel there, it's going to make it worse. So they're trying to send her away. Hush, hush, disappear, please. So you leave the story. Maybe we can fix this mess.
So at that same time, So at that same time, as she jumps off, visually, people watching get to see a meteor basically fly across all of the characters, pretty much in the show so far, for the most part, and we just see it going. And at that point, I'm like, oh, Clark Kent's coming. No, it was like. As I watched, I was confused because there was a lot of visual awesomeness happening on that boat as they were reaching their destination, and then it was almost like boom, right there she jumps off, and then there's just a meteor. Like, what's going on here? It was out of the blue. Wasn't expecting it, but yeah, it was interesting. And then they go and inspect it. Who is it? The Brandyfoot, and Proudfellow. Poppy and Nori.
Yeah, so let's get into that, because I think Joe has some feelings that he might want to get off his chest. So during this whole episode, there is also the Harfoots that are introduced. Now, the Harfoots are actually hobbits. There are 3 different types of hobbits. They're the Harfoots, the Followhides, and the Stores. And they were all within this region. And the Harfoots are what we're introduced to. Nori Brandyfoot and Poppy Proudfellow are probably the main Harfoots that we are seeing. And yeah, they're very cautious creatures. They don't want to get caught by any hunters or anything like that. They also, they're small, so wolves can get them. So they're very cautious when they see wolves and stuff. And yeah, the Harfoots, I enjoyed them. I liked their cleverness. I liked their cuteness. I'll put it that way. Joe, on the other hand, I've had conversation with you. I don't think you like these descendants of the hobbits, or ancestors rather.
I'm just not a huge fan of them being dirty, grungy people. I don't think that that's what a hobbit is. And granted, these are Harfoots, right? Not hobbits. I have to try and separate the difference between the two. These are not hobbits.
They're a different type of hobbit, right? Because there's several different types, according to this webpage I'm looking at. But yeah, I mean, they're just not the. They're not the Samwise. They're not the Bilbo. They're not the people we know from the Shire.
Yeah, 3,000 years later, hobbits, and I get that. They're fine. They're fun. I really like Nori's character.
Oh yeah, she's really good.
Poppy's The rest of them are okay. The leader's also interesting for me. But that's kind of it for them. I don't think they've given us any other characters to try and like connect with, have a bond with, build a relationship with. But Nori, and then I don't remember the leader's name, but he and her.
I mean, the leader seems to be Sadok Burrows, who is the kind of the he's the one Harfoot that like was reading texts like under reading the sky as well. He seems to be their like leader, their prophet, so to speak, it seems like.
Which is why he's interesting to me, right? Yeah. He offers more than just I'm a grungy, figure it out kind of guy. I have more going on, and we don't know it yet. Nori is curious, which is not normal for a hobbit, as we know. They're not supposed to do curiosity and adventure and things like that. So she breaks the mold as well, which is why she's interesting.
But yeah, just in Middle-earth's Superman shows up in a meteor and crashes. And that's where we end the episode. Nori and Poppy find this man. He thankfully has some clothes on. And he has just crashed into a meteor. Or he was a meteor and crashed into Middle-earth.
Maybe he was encased in a meteor.
Who knows?
Avatar style. Big black eyes.
So I want to talk about the Harfoots a little bit. I didn't get to give
go ahead.
my outlook on them. For me, hobbits in the future of the show, pretty much, are settled down. They have a place, the Shire. They live in homes. These Harfoots are more mobile. Okay, so they're okay for me to be dirty and kind of like messy because they move from place to place. They see danger, they move. They move as a company and harvest the land and then continue to move. So they're going to be a little dirtier. They don't have a lot of places to sit down and get clean or have a home. They don't call a home a home. They call their company their home. So in this sense, I like it. I'm okay with it. Harfoots are interesting. They're a new character that we haven't really ever heard of or seen. So I feel like this is a new version of a Hobbit that's going to help the story move along, just like they do. I love the leader or the guy that is the astrologer or the text reader. I love his character. He's looking into the astrology. He's looking at text and seeing the sky. It's someone that has a little bit of knowledge more than normal Harfoots. And I feel like he's going to be a big point as well. Yeah. He was actually watching the meteor as well when it went by. So I feel like this is something that is going to be a leading point for the Harfoots as a population for sure.
Well,
they're
and this
gypsies.
Middle-earth gypsies. And this kind of gets into the second episode a little bit more, but I do want to bring it up here because what you said was pretty key is that Nori is going to be vital to this story, no matter what. And the reason being is because we know that of hobbits. They are people who help despite their comfort, right? And that's literally what Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pip did in the original trilogy. Like, Frodo didn't want to carry that ring, but he understood the greater task at hand. And that's what Nori's going to be. She's going to be, and potentially Poppy as well, but she's going to be a very pivotal part of this story. And I'm excited to see it unfold because that's what we said in our Return of the King review, or at least I said it, was that what I love about Return of the King, why it's my favorite movie in that trilogy, is because the hobbits really showed their true selves and their place in this wider and bigger story awesomely. And that's what I think Nori and potentially Poppy, potentially Sedok are going to do. So I'm really excited for the future.
For sure, Nori.
Yeah, for sure, Nori. So let's get into episode 2. We're adrift. Makes sense. Swimming back to Middle Earth, Galadriel comes across a raft with human survivors of a shipwreck. And these human survivors were not really keen to adding another person to their...
No, they were.
I don't even know if I would call it a raft.
No, they were definitely
in a desperate situation.
Yeah, they were definitely sticking with who they trust, who they know. They look like they were survivors from obviously a shipwreck, and she was not taken as a friend or trusted at all at the beginning. No. There was one character that pulled her onto the boat, and others were yelling at that character for doing it because they just wanted to stay safe through the storm and through everything going on.
Well, and then one of the characters pulls her hair back and understands that she's an elf, and so they instantly get defensive because that's what you did in Middle Earth. Like you just didn't converse with elves. They were of higher breed, right, Joe?
Yeah, I mean there was definitely some segregation here going on. Humans didn't like elves. Elves kind of begrudgingly were there with the humans, but they're from different worlds and. Yeah. they definitely treated each other as such. Same way with the Harfoots, though. They treated the humans, the hunters, as dangerous, even if they weren't. Like, we don't know if they were or not, but everyone, if they weren't, the same people as you, then they're dangerous. They're outsiders. They're not to be trusted. And that's kind of how it worked. That's how everyone got along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this shipwreck, this raft here, these people, they're attacked by Godzilla, and only one survives. The reason why I say Godzilla is because they had that same cinematography wise. They had that same like over the top look of like fins going under a boat, just like in the recent Godzillas. So,
Or like Jaws.
but no, this was like this sea creature that was it was massive, like
Nessie.
Definitely
Yeah.
good size of a boat.
yeah. So
Definitely way bigger than the raft, that's for sure.
Yeah, only one lived because he cut himself free of everyone and left them to die, by the way.
yeah.
It's not like he lived out of luck. No, he sold them out. He cut himself free and like pushed himself off. I was like, all right, better you guys get eaten than me.
Well,
And she
And
noticed.
that's
Galadriel
Halbrand
did.
of the Southlands, by the way. Halbrand.
Yes.
it happened in Titanic as well. Rose could only fit on the door, so you had to save yourself before anyone else.
Mhm,
To hark back
clearly.
to earlier, we're gonna need a bigger raft. Would have been the thing
Yeah.
he said. So
Well, at least Halbrand had a big enough raft to pick up Galadriel because he does
Would have been a
explain to
short story.
her that he is fleeing from orcs. So that instantly raises all the hairs on Galadriel's neck, her eyebrows, just everywhere. I mean, she went Super Saiyan here. It's just,
She almost went into negative mode. Is that what you're telling me?
yeah, maybe. But yeah, she now understands that clearly her gut reaction was true. Orcs are still around. The evil is still around. Sauron is still around. And so they worked actually together to survive a storm. Now after they do survive the storm, that is pretty much the end of Galadriel in Halbrand's story in this particular episode. But they do survive the storm, so we get to move on to other storylines. So Nori and Poppy keep the stranger, so they're calling him the stranger, secret from the other Harfoots and give him food and shelter. He does not speak their language, but... And
God,
I'm
this
going to
was
pause
awesome.
here.
This was
I'm going to
awesome,
pause. I'm actually going to pause here because, Joe, this stranger, and see, I know that you've gotten this far in the episode, so you've probably watched the show. But if you have not seen this, please stop and maybe save a surprise for yourself, because Joe, this stranger has a peculiar long hair. Or long gray hair, long gray beard.
It would possibly be that we're meeting an already known character here.
Mm-hmm.
It may possibly be that this is none other than Mithrandir. And I think that we'll probably get that name before we get Gandalf.
Yeah.
Greyheim. I think that they'll introduce him as Mithrandir because that's his old wizard name. I'm guessing based on context clues in the episode, right? We know that he can speak to animals.
Well, yeah, and that's why I stopped in the synopsis, because as Joe just revealed that to us, here are the hints. He does not speak their language, but he uses fireflies and apparent magic to indicate that he is searching for a constellation of stars that Nori does not recognize. So there are these like Gandalf things that we are accustomed to. And Joe, you were saying, you actually in a conversation yesterday about this show were saying that there's another thing that kind of harkens back to Gandalf as well.
Exactly, yeah. So in Fellowship, we have the moment where he's talking to Bilbo and he says, "Do you take me for a thief?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the way the camera, as a forced perspective is what it's called. And the way that they do that, they darken everything, push in really focus on him and make everything else kind of pull away. and Darken, they do the same thing again here with Nori and Poppy. Now he's not saying, "Do you take me for a little more than a thief?" He's just angry, but we get that same exact, and I mean same exact, like forced perspective, camera, zoom, pull, that we did in Fellowship. So I would have to assume that this is most likely another Gandalf moment.
So, Justin, are you on board with our thoughts?
That's a interesting philosophy. Cinematography wise, directors do that a lot. They share camera pans, they share, exposures and volume control with characters across multiple series and shows. So if that theory is correct, I'm down. I'm down for it. He does share a lot of similarities. Early Gandalf, obviously. And he hasn't done anything to make me think this is a terrible portrayal. I think he's doing a fine job for what he's been shown to do so far.
I'd agree with that.
But this is just a film theory or show theory. So
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's the theory now. I would be comfortable hedging a bet that this is Gandalf. But at the end of the day, like we still don't know. I mean, in all fairness, Radagast, if they bring him back, he talks to animals, so this could potentially be Radagast the Brown. But Radagast the Brown also had a brown beard, had brown hair.
He was also smaller.
He was
For the
also
most
smaller.
part-
This guy's really tall.
most part, Gandalf talked to insects, bugs, that we saw on screen. And he is in this scene controlling fireflies, which are a bug, which is another tie through line there. This scene, though, I loved it. I thought it was visually awesome. He controls these fireflies. He frees them at first to save them, and then controls them. They fly up. They show a constellation in the star sky.
Yeah.
The lead Harfoots see it, and then something bad happens. A little foreboding, a little foreshadowing. All the fireflies, one at a time, start to die. Their lights just pick out, like boom, gone. And then all the others continue, and the Harfoots see that as well. So they sense danger, but of course they're curious and they're already in the moment. They're going to continue.
Yeah. All right. So that kind of is the end of that storyline throughout episode 2. So next, Arondir investigates tunnels beneath Hordern and is captured. So this was... Justin's going to be on board for this. I know you are. Because I love when you throw different genres into episodes of series. This is straight out of a horror movie. Like, this is a horror scene, and I loved it. I love the tense nature that you have. I love the angst, the sort of like suspense that you have within this particular scene. I think Arondir, the actor, does it brilliantly. And he is on the run, and then eventually Joe, hands just reach out from behind him, and he's gone.
It was good. I can get on board with this too. I liked that.
Yeah.
I'm not a horror guy, right? But I really enjoyed this scene. I agree. I think that it's necessary, especially in TV, to have moments like this that build that suspense, that build and like fill you with tension and angst and make you worried, right? We want to feel things for these characters. We want to grow a bond with these characters so that we care about what happens to them. They did a very good job in the scene.
I want to I'm amazed right now. I'm floored that Joe liked it. But
are we surprised?
Let's
It's not
just
romance.
take our hats off if you're wearing a hat, because the director in the scene, it is very easy. And I've seen many horror films to show I can show all the sources, but it is very easy to film tunnel scenes terribly, where you're close to the actors, you're close to the characters, and you're close up on their face, and it looks terrible, and it doesn't look great at all. This was done in a way that kept that camera pan back. It kept the openness to the tunnel, still feeling claustrophobic, but showing the aggression of whatever's coming after him. showing the tension and the thrill of it for real, really well. He hats off. This director has my bucket. It's good.
Well, the other thing is his is the use of shadows in this scene as well. Like the use of shadows was done really well. You get this like just foreboding sense that somebody is watching you, and it just worked really good. Like I said, I love when different genres are thrown into, shows. Like, I'm a huge fan of Psych. Psych is one of my favorite shows. It's a comedy, but I loved when they did their Halloween inspired episodes and their horror inspired episodes, and they worked, the way that they did them. So same thing here, works perfectly.
It goes back to that Mando episode that was scary.
Oh,
Joe just showed a
nice.
signature board of all the Psych characters.
That's so cool.
Autograph script of of that specific episode you're talking about with the Halloween ones.
Wait, is that the like the Camp Crystal Lake one? Are you talking?
Sorry, this is American Duos because it had Tim what is his name? Tim something. But Tim Curry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
That's really cool. Anyway,
if
so
you're not watching on YouTube, you missed out.
Yeah, definitely. Go to the video and check that out. So Arondir gets captured. Bronwyn returns to her own village, Turharad. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing some of these, where an orc actually attacks her and Theo. Now, I think this is an early iteration of what the orcs were because it looked more goblin-y to me. Do you guys agree with that?
It was very vicious.
Yeah.
A little
it could have been
larger.
one of the other ones with the pointer ears.
Yeah.
Like, right, there's different breeds.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy looked pretty fierce, darn ugly. But they do end up killing it. And they use its head as proof of danger to convince the rest of the town to leave. Now, that is a key plot because like throughout the first episode, as well as the beginning of this episode, they did not believe Bronwyn that they were actually in trouble. They were happy. They were content with, just their dive bar that they would attend every single day. And Justin, this put them on their toes.
Yeah, this just shows the graphic nature of the show. You saw a beheading early in the show, in the first episode, but here you've got this head of a goblin. She just tosses it on the bar top and is like, "You believe me now?" And let's get out of here. But I want to go back a little bit where the fight scene with her son against this one goblin, because this really continued that horror-esque element, because you've got her hiding in a closet and him hiding in kind of like a dumbwaiter closet, and you get this goblin prowling around through the cracks, and you get to see that tension, that Halloween tension, the Michael Myers tension. I loved it. It was great. And then you see mom protects son and son protects mom tenfold, and it did a great job.
Yes. All right, we got to push through here a little bit. So let's get to Elrond. We haven't really talked about him too much, but Gil-galad sends the half-elf Elrond to assist the great elven smith Celebrimbor. So we kind of know about Celebrimbor from Joe. Let's just say it. He made the...
What did he do? I don't know.
He made the Rings of Power. Oh,
what? Shock. We don't know that yet. He hasn't done it.
Not all of them. He didn't make one of them.
Yeah, true. So Celebrimbor has these plans to build a powerful new forge, one that would quite possibly assume that would forge the rings.
Things of beauty and power.
Yes. So Elrond, after like in the first episode, convincing Galadriel that it's good to go back, understanding that there is still forces out there that, they should have taken care of and should have potentially kept Galadriel to take care of. He now is with Celebrimbor, and they are going to build this new forge. Now, Elrond sees the plans. I really enjoyed this scene, by the way. Elrond sees the plans, and he's like, yo, we can't do this by the time frame that you want. We're going to need the help of dwarves. And yeah.
Onto the Brokeback Misty Mountains.
Sure. All right.
I don't get it.
So Elrond suggests they seek help from the dwarves and goes to his friend Prince Durin IV in Khazad-dûm.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joe, this entrance into Khazad-dûm was awesome.
Yes, and also, like, ironically enough, it does the exact opposite from the trilogy's entrance. So in the trilogy, they have to speak friend and enter.
Yeah.
But when his friend speaks, he's denied entrance.
Yeah, okay. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is kind of funny. Yeah, Elrond has not visited Durin in 20 years, and Durin is, quite frankly, PO'd about that because he thought that they were good friends. Elrond missed his wedding, missed the birth of two of his children, and Durin's not too happy about it. But thankfully, his wife Disa convinces him to hear Elrond's proposal. So,
Actually,
that is not.
It skipped over the whole hammer contest.
Oh yeah,
The
that I was
dwarven
just about to
contest of
mention
hammers. Where
Yeah,
they
which
take
was
turns
fun.
breaking rocks, and it was just great. That ending scene, phenomenal, hilarious, great humor thrown into this. I want to speak about the visual representation of these tunnels, of these mines. They look
so
great.
good.
The money that was involved for this, I don't know how much they spent, but it looked phenomenal.
A lot.
It looked like dwarven cities. The way they walked, the way they spoke,
Yeah.
the way they moved. Phenomenal intro into the city, and then the hammer contest where you were circled by dwarves and you're just going back and forth hitting rocks with a hammer. Great.
So I'm just gonna say this here for you, Justin. The whole season was $750 million to produce.
Yeah.
That means that every single episode, 93,750,000 was poured into it, which also means that about 90 million was put into Khazad-dûm because it looked awesome.
Yeah, it was up there for sure. Geez, it kind of like, we've seen areas like this in the trilogy before. We've seen set pieces like this. But when we walked in there, it almost as if it felt like home. It felt like something that I've been there and I know it and I feel the warmth and the characters in it. Even though they were kind of aggressive and they weren't friendly as much, you still felt like it was a place that we know. And I really, that's something hard to do for something that's so great of our childhood.
Yeah, it's the first actual visual representation of a dwarven city, like on screen, how it's told by the characters, right? Every time, we're going to be greeted in this beautiful, amazing, warm, happy, homey, and then every single time in every other movie, it's dismal, dank, dark, like awful. And finally we get that, oh my God, this is beautiful. Like absolutely glorious.
Even Gimli was like, my cousin Durin is going to accept us with open arms here, and they open it up and it's a tomb. Whereas here, as you said, Joe, which was really funny, I didn't pick up on this, but Elrond, a supposed friend, not accepted as a friend, and you're opening up to, as Justin said, home. And it fits perfectly, because the one thing that we don't get in the original trilogy is, and even in The Hobbit, so, for a little bit, is like these vibrant and working on all cylinders, like, places, besides the elven kingdoms in the original trilogy. Like, those elven kingdoms aren't touched. Whereas like in the dwarven kingdom, in the kingdoms of men, like, you see these, like, the lake town in the Hobbit trilogy. Like, you see these downstricken, just not good places to be living. And that's what I love about this, is that, like, although some of the villages of men isn't that pleasant in these first two episodes, like, it seems like everybody's happy and vibrant and, like, it's looking good. But that kind of brings us to the end of the episode, where, again, Galadriel does, they get to shore, they Somebody finds them and picks them up. We don't know who yet because there was a sun glare, but also there was another glare, Joe. Durin's Bane shows up at the end of this episode. It's not seen, but there is a clear glare that gives you the hint that we have another Arkenstone on our hands. And by another, I mean the Arkenstone. There's not two, there's just one.
Yeah. And what will it amount to? Like, I liked that. I was really happy with that. I love the introduction of the Arkenstone. We know there's power there. We don't know what it is. We don't know what the deal is, but we know there's also something else going on. They introduced that at the same time. The dwarves have an agenda. We don't know what that agenda is. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know what's going on, but they have an agenda outside of what Elrond wants from them.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I like that they've introduced a bunch of different storylines. I'm excited to see them come together and, you know, come to fruition towards the end, hopefully, of this series or season. Hopefully it's multiple seasons. We'll see what happens. And how it keeps going, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. That makes a lot more sense. I thought it was Melnir in that box. So, yeah.
You thought it was Mjolnir in that box? That's a different cinematic universe.
I'm crossing streams here.
No, yeah, I think it was Durin's Bane. I thought it was the Arkenstone. I think it was clearly that because they were also talking in the same breath that they were showing that they didn't trust Elrond still. And they thought that Elrond was there for a different purpose. And obviously it being the Arkenstone that we know, like, it's clear that, you know, what is Durin's dad's name?
Durin.
It is Durin? Okay.
I think it's a whole lineage of Durins.
Yeah, so the other Durin, the other Durin is still like, you know, he's got kind of that dragon mind, you know, that greed to it, and that's why he's still so close-knit to the Arkenstone. So that's what I believe it is. But that's it. Let us know what you thought of the first two episodes. We're going to be doing a new ranking system throughout this series. We want to try something out because we're not going to rank each and every episode with a 1 through 5. We are going to just tell you...
7.
Huh? Yeah, no. We are going to have like kind of a 3-tier ranking after each review until the final episode where we will give a number to the entire season. But our 3-step review process here will be, our top tier is going to be we are all in. Like, we are ready and excited to see the next episode. Our next tier will be hopeful or optimistic, that we're not necessarily all in, like I'm going to watch it every single episode, but I think that it's going to be good. And then the bottom tier is going to be concerned. So if we're truly concerned about this show, we will let you know. But Joe, let's go with you first. Are you all in, optimistic, or concerned?
I am 100% optimistic at this moment. I'm not all in. There are things that I don't agree with fully and don't love, which I've mentioned a couple of them. I haven't mentioned all of them. And I'm very optimistic for where the show could go, though. I think right now, because there's so many stories open, there's so much going on, that they have every opportunity to do it right. Mm-hmm. I'm hopeful that they will.
Justin, are you all in, optimistic, or concerned?
Definitely not at the Halo tier down there. I'm going to go up to the top on this one. I am all in. These 2 episodes gave me drive. It gave me, it took my hope and threw it into, I'm excited. I feel like they're doing things correctly, in my opinion, and things that they are starting to do are going to fulfill themselves at the end. I feel like they have the drive with this creative flow. The only concerning part for me is the multiple directors, but I feel like with the budget and with the freedom to write, I feel like they're going to tie it in correctly, and they're doing a proper justice to my Lord of the Rings viewing pleasure. I don't see this like The Hobbit. I see this as a new, brand new story that continues to surprise me at every turn, and I'm looking forward to the next 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm. And I will echo that. I am all in as well on this show. I think that what they did story-wise, not to mention just the set pieces and cinematography-wise, I think that this show is going to surprise all of us. I think it's going to be a great hit. Now, with that being said, our opinion can change. Like Justin did mention it. For example, I was all in after episode 1 on Halo. Episode 2, I was concerned, so it's going to be those types of things. There is a potential that, Joe or Justin or I could be leaning a bit more to the concern when we get into the middle of the series. So that's why we switched up the rankings here. I hope you like it. Let us know if you agree, and let us know if you're concerned about the show or optimistic or all in down below in the comments or on a podcast review. Just a reminder, podcast reviews really help us out. Also, word of mouth, like share about this show, share about Test Your Might, share about What the Fun Network. We want you guys to share about the stuff that we're passionate about too. So if you guys like this episode, just tell one person. That's your goal. Tell one person about What the Fun Network, and we'll see these episodes skyrocket, and we're really excited for that potential in the future. If you would like to follow us on social media, we are at What the Fun Pod on both Twitter and Facebook. And this has been our review of episodes 1 and 2 of The Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. Go ahead and watch it if you have not already seen it. My name is Mike. That is Joe. That's Justin. This has been What the Fun Show. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Definitely. They were talking about hammers beforehand. They were having a hammer contest.
Hammer time?
Thor's hammer.
Mjolnir?
Thor's hammer.
Hammer time.
It's a show.
Spoiler.
Lord of the Rings.
It's a show.
I don't know what you guys were expecting there.
Oh. Well, I gave a good one. It's okay. I followed up with a nice hook. All right.
And then I had it too. So you're funny, Joe.
I love it.
I have nothing to go off of for a spoiler review except for it's Lord of the Rings content, and if you like Lord of the Rings, you should watch it.
Well, you can mention, like I mentioned, the
you
look
can
of it, the
mention
feelings
things
it gave
about
you.
the episodes.
Yeah.
That would be spoiling it.
No, it wouldn't. What did I say that spoiled it?
I said it looked good. The
It has
cinematography,
characters that we have already seen before, things like that. I added that.
That's
because,
been
but that's a
known.
spoiler.
Lord of
It's
the Rings.
not known
man.
to people like me, though. I didn't know that.
You are almost one of one in this world who just don't watch trailers, okay?
One of one.
That's a good thing.
Everyone
should be like me. Don't watch trailers. They suck.
I
They
believe
ruin
it's a
things.
good thing in certain circumstances. But anyway,